You guys know how you did for SCAREathon. Now let's see how I did. So I read a lot of books. It was a busy month, and I was also competing in Fablin, and I also had Pokemon as well, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for SCAREathon and my results. Now, if you haven't checked, your results are on the Discord. I posted a whole bunch of graphics. For some reason, it was really weird, and it didn't go in the order that I wanted it to go in, but it is all there. Hello. Welcome to my channel. If you have not seen any of my videos, this is me. Please consider subscribing and liking this video. I do content about challenges. I've also got a series going on my channel as well. So if that's the kind of thing you like, then come along for the ride. I wanted to start off by saying thank you to everybody who participated in SCAREathon. I so appreciated that you came on the journey with me. There were some scares, there were some uncomfy bits, and I was just happy not to be alone. The readathon was aimed at reading books that would make you feel uncomfortable. The more uncomfortable you got, the more points you got, essentially is how it worked. So this video is going to start with a quick wrap up of what I read. Now, I'm not going to talk about every single book because I did black out the board, but there are going to be a few that I highlight. And then we're going to move over to Past Me, and we will discover together how many pages I read, if I managed to get to Scare Master, and all of that kind of stuff. So having a look at my scare board, I did in fact black out the board, which was incredible. I was aiming for that. I didn't know if I was going to complete it or not. I just know that I stuck my nose in a lot of books and I didn't stop. Towards the end there, I put something in the chat just asking for advice about which books I should finish, because I had like 3 days to go and 5 books to read, and I didn't think that I was going to be able to do it, but somehow I managed to get a burst of energy and finish all of them, and I'm very surprised by that and also very happy. I feel very accomplished for the month of October. So I had to switch a couple of them out, namely the Stark prompt. I was trying to get through The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and I managed to get almost halfway there, and I realised I just was not going to get there in time. So knowing that I had a book for Fablin to read, I managed to get my hands on the Stark cover of Dracula, and I immersion read that. So I used that instead of The Secret History, and that ended up being 350 pages. Instead of like 600 and something from The Secret History. Now the other one that I had to switch out was for my cabin prompt. Very early in the month, I read What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, and like although there were a few people within the house, they were in a relatively isolated setting. I wasn't going to use that. I was going to use Artemis by Andy Weir because it's like set in space, but I was reading the back of it and it seemed like there were going to be a lot of people and a lot of things surrounding the protagonist. So I decided not to use that. Luckily, I had What Moves the Dead, which I thought would fit, so that's good. Now, one of the first books that I really want to talk about is Are We Surprised? House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. This could have worked for so many different prompts. I used it for sweat because I figured reading this much of a book was gonna cause me to sweat a little bit. A, because of time, B, because it's supposed to be, for a lot of people, it's one of the scariest books they've ever read. I can kind of understand that. It was creepy as anything. But going back, it's no surprise that I absolutely loved this book. This book got a 4.5 stars. The half star got taken off because there are a couple of chapters in there that just like, chapter 5, for example, just talked about the history of what was it? Sound. I think echoes. It is important to appreciate the importance of space in the Navidson record without first taking into account the significance of echoes. And there's like a whole quite complicated chapter on like echolocation and like science and there are a couple of chapters like that, and it just kind of takes you out of the story, but it does kind of use those concepts later. So yeah, I don't know. That wasn't my favorite part. So hence the reason why I got a 4.5 and not a 5 star. Um, Now this book could work for this that I have would work for start. It would work for solid because even if you didn't read the appendixes, which I did, the appendixes were interesting. I recommend reading the appendix and everything like that. It finished on page, technically, without the appendixes and instructions, finished on page 528. So that's over 500 pages. It could have worked for cabin as well because for a lot of this they are in a very isolated, like it's a large setting, and they have like an exploration group, but like even sometimes Nevinson exploring this place was by himself, so there's a lot of isolation in this book. Obviously you could have used it for evening. You could pretty much use any book for evening, to be honest, but it could have also worked for Airy being an intimidating read. This was very much an intimidating read. But the one that I think it works best for was the exercise prompt, because it was a total mindfuck. I mean, taking out of account those like seriously scientific engineering type chapters that make you go, what the fuck is all of this about? You've got, like, for example, towards the end of the book, you've got Braille. I don't know if you can see that very well, but you've got Braille on this side. But then you've also got like music notes, and I don't know how to read music. If you guys can read music, then please let me know what this says. Besides that, I mean, as you've seen, there are some really weird pages, and like there are pages where you have to turn it upside down. That is upside down. That is right side up. It was weird. So many weird pages that made you go, what the heck? So House of Leaves itself is a multi-narrative concept story. I would say somewhere closer to concept. So you've got one narrative about a family that moves into a house that is seemingly bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, and then they start exploring more and creepier things start happening, and people get hurt and weird shit happens. And then you've also got this kind of narrative from a dude called Zampano, who was like a guy who found the original Navidson records and like got them dictated and wrote them down. And they were kind of scattered all over the place until Johnny Truant, who is the other part of this narrative, gets a hold of them and like actually puts them into a readable book. But like even then, Johnny Truant, you can see as the story goes on that he's not exactly sane, and you kind of learn about that a little bit more in one of the appendixes. So I definitely recommend it. If you're going to read this, you need to read the appendixes. It still kind of wigs my brain out, and like even then it still leaves it quite open to interpretation as to what is actually going on with that house. Like, is there a monster? Is it just insanity? Is it a thing? Like, is it just the house, like a sentient house? You figure it out. If you're going to read this, I do not recommend it kind of over the 2 to 3 weeks that I read it, because I feel like you probably won't get all of the story or it won't sink in as well. I'm going to reread this next year, but take my time over like 2 or 3 months to really kind of get myself in there. If anyone wants to buddy read it, the offer's open. So that was House of Leaves, 4.5 stars. It was really good. The spot that I did use exercise for was The Exorcist. Now, that one was, I thought, would have been like a bit mind trippy, but it actually wasn't. Can't remember what I think I gave that a 3.75. So that was really good. It's not the first demonic possession book that I've read, but it's a hell of a lot better done than the one I did read. Oh, I'll put it up here. The one that I did read. Let's talk about The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. Now, if you haven't seen my Read the Beats video, I suggest you do that, because I do kind of go into a bit more detail about this, but this got 5 stars. This was fantastic. This was my reality prompt. This just got me so angry at the medical system. And I actually introduced the story to my mum after I'd finished, because we found out that there was a movie starring Oprah Winfrey. And that was a really good movie. And it's actually, because of the movie, I ended up giving this 5 stars. It was sitting at a 4.5. And then I watched the movie and it got a 5. So that was awesome. I highly recommend you guys read this. This does have mixed reviews, so do go into it knowing that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. This definitely made me think about, vaccines and a lot of different medical advances, and it made me feel grateful, but at the same time it also made me feel really angry, because for the longest time the family didn't get any recognition or compensation or anything like that, until I think it was last year or the year before, when they settled on something. And I'm really glad that they've been compensated in some way now. So my oddball book that I chose for Reap, this being centered around death or the angel of death, like reapers, that kind of thing, I actually chose another nonfiction called Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs by Caitlin Doty. And this was fantastic. It was such a good read. 200 pages, so quite short. And they're short little questions from these kids that have asked her as a mortician all of these different questions. And she breaks them down scientifically, but also in a really accessible and entertaining way. So I highly recommend you read that and get your hands on it, because it was so fascinating. It kind of got me into watching a few of your YouTube videos as well. So yeah, I think I gave that one 4 stars. The one other book that I want to talk to you about is My Risk Roll. My Risk Roll, I did live on stream. So you guys should be able to see that random number generator. Now the lower limit being 1, upper limit being 89. And that will correspond to one of the books that is on my owned shelf, not my Audible and not my Kindle. I didn't have time for that. So we're just going to generate 33. What's number 33? Oh, fudge sticks. Well, I can't go back on that one now, can I? So that was Priory of the Orange Tree. Now this is thick as anything. I made it to page 412, which was 51%, and I DNF'd. Because even immersion reading this, I still had no fucking clue what was going on. And 400 pages in, I should have some idea of what is happening. To me, there were just too many narratives that were being told within this one story. And I know there is another book that's like a prequel, but that came out after Primary. Um, so yeah, this was my first and only DNF of the readathon. Definitely not going to pick it back up again. And I mean, it's not the only 800-page book that I read. I read Lasher, which was an 800, almost 900-page book. That was easier to read and understand than Priory. And Anne Rice can be very here, there, and everywhere with her writing until it all kind of comes together at the end. House of Earth and Blood. I started that not knowing what was going on, and I was like, oh, here we go. This is not going to be good. But I maybe got to 50, maybe 100 pages, and I was in it. Like, I understood what was going on. I was following, once we kind of focused down on two or three characters, I was able to follow the story. But to have so many different narratives in this, it didn't work. It needed to be, if you wanted to make it like multi-narrative, maybe two different narratives, but making the stories along the same lines, not totally different areas. So that's my little rant. So that was my SCAREathon TBR. Now let us head over to Past Jessica, and we will see what my points are. Okay, so Past Jessica here. We are going to find out together what my points are. So you can see kind of how I've set it up. I've got like the point bonuses here. I've got the page numbers here, and then I've just got the points for the 1, 2, 3, 4 for the five lifestyle prompts. So all we're going to do is sum those up. Now, I did clear out the SCAREathon board, but I will add all of them up later. You ready? I don't know that I would have hit the 10,000 for the Scaremaster, but let's see. Got some pretty heavy hitting books there. 883, 799, 699, and some pretty decent ones as well. Okay. 3, 2, 1. I'm not even going to look. Whoa! That's better than I thought. Okay. Let's make that bold. Now, for the page bonus, it is 10 points per 1,000 pages and 5 points per 500 pages. Now, because that is 8,200, we're going to go 80 points. And clearing out the scare board, if you don't remember from the rules, it is 500 extra points. It just means that I don't count each individual scare. It's just a blanket 500. And that's what I really wanted. Was that 500. Okay, total equals. I don't think we've quite hit the 9,000 mark. So my total points for SCAREathon is 8,794. That's really good. That is much better than I was anticipating. Holy moly, that was over 8,000 pages. I am absolutely gobsmacked. Now, what I didn't put in there was the average pages, which was 405.5 pages per book. I'm really impressed with that. My average page but my average page is normally around the 5,000 mark. So that's 3,000 pages more than normal. So yes, that was my SCAREathon. Top books were definitely The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, The House of Earth and Blood, and also House of Leaves. So did you participate in the SCAREathon? And if you did, what were your favourite books of the month? I really want to know. If you made it to this part of the video and you're not feeling chatty, then leave me a leaf emoji for House of Leaves. That is going to be it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next time. Bye bye.